should have been doing that too.
Well, let me say this. They are now talking to us, but we voted. So the point is I think that clearly part of the bill, though, in that first bucket of money, there is direct money going to those 8 counties that were most affected. So it will bypass Tallahassee, and it will go straight to those 8 counties. Because if you remember 2 years ago, there was money sent to Tallahassee that was to go to those 8 counties, and where did it go? It went down south, it went to Central Florida, it didn't go to those 8 counties that were most affected. So we addressed that. And let me say this, in all fairness, that was done in both versions. Okay, so that's a good thing in both versions. Oh, yes, sir.
Jim Zerbrick, a public fisherman from Steenhatchee. It's good to see you again. I don't know if you remember me.
Oh, Jim, I remember you well, my friend, and your kind wife.
Okay, great.
And let me say this, Jim does what every American needs to do. He comes to Washington. Takes away from his family business, and he comes to Washington. And, you know, even though we may agree or disagree on certain issues, he understands the importance, and I compliment him. Go ahead.
Well, for one thing, and for probably most of the folks here, Steve, you do a great job on just about everything.
Let me guess, Jim, where are you?
Your fiscal policies, you did shake it a little bit on the E-Verify.
Well, we haven't voted on E-Verify.
I know, but the fact is that Georgia, as far as I know, has repealed E-Verify. But what they're going to do is they're working to solve the problem of those crops having rot. So that this year they don't face the same problem. And I think Americans, in adversity, sometimes you got to take 2 steps back. You can't put it that way.
Well, let me tell you why I'm not trusting the federal government. You remember a couple of years ago, we had people dying who had eaten at a restaurant and ate peppers. Remember that? So what we did is we said that no peppers. Now the farmers had already picked all the peppers. The farmers had picked the peppers, and the farmers they'd grown them, picked them, and they couldn't sell them. So because of people were dying in a Mexican restaurant, Mexican chain. So they lost everything. That was 4 years ago. To this day, not a single farmer has been compensated because the FDA stepped in and they were wrong. The peppers were from Mexico. So I appreciate your trust and that the government's going to do the right thing quickly. But 4 years after the devastation, and many of those farmers went belly up.
Well, this is state government. I have more trust in state government. Believe me, I agree. Everybody on our federal system,
I agree.
It's lousy. It's sad. I lose sleep over it. My question is, you made a couple comments. There are words now in the fishery. I'm in the fishery. That's what I do for a living. My wife and I, if you look at our hands, we run our own boat. We just got back from being offshore fishing. We work hard. The 80-hour weeks, we understand. You're preaching to the choir earlier. You use words like certainty. And then you use the word a tool in a toolbox. The other day, of course, your bill passed.
My amendment. Well, my amendment passed and the bill passed.
Okay, your amendment passed. And what's happened here is there's a scare of the recreational sector that catch shares could come to visit them. I firmly believe, and I was talking to Melissa about it, that that's what this is about. But the system we have in the Gulf of Mexico, our catch share program, is working. It's the first time, and I've been in this business a long time. From January 1 to December 31st, my 2 boats work full time. Full time, they have jobs. They're paying taxes. We're paying taxes. There's too many taxes. And so, by taking the catch shares out of the toolbox.
Well, I didn't do that. My bill didn't do that. You've been reading those liberal
won't
websites.
fund development of the future. But
I mean, the point is, the criticism in the bill, by the way, the bill says that no dollars can be spent on new, okay, the development, approval, or implementation of new catch shares. So for your program that you care for and you love, it doesn't change that.
I understand.
Okay, well, I just want to tell the whole story.
Well, what happens is, people, you say, hey, don't eat those peppers. But I have a box of peppers over here, it throws suspect on the box of peppers over here, because if you're not going to eat those, we're going, oh, what's the difference?
Right.
So we look at it.
Well, most people don't even know what catch shares are.
Right.
You're assuming that everybody, you know, let me tell you why people don't know what catch shares are. Because the people weren't included in the conversation about catch shares. Because, Jim, I have people that come to my office that represent commercial fishing industry. A select few, because not all commercial fishermen are in favor of catch shares. Okay, but I have a select few. And it's always interesting that they come in with representatives from the Environmental Defense Fund. They come into my office with representatives from the Pew Foundation. They come into my office with representatives from Oceans Conservancy. And they say, well, we voted. 80% of the fishermen voted. No, they did not. 80% perhaps of the commercial fishermen voted. How many recreational fishermen do we have in the room? How many of you like to fish? Individually. You didn't get to vote. You weren't at those meetings. And guess who owns those fish?
The public.
You do. The public. Right. They're not a private investment. And so when we start taking fish from you, and 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 giving to Jim, I think that's wrong without getting your opinion. Does that make sense? And so my Jim, I got to tell you, we're just going to disagree on this one. And I appreciate, first of all, to work as hard as you work and to come up here to a town hall meeting, I appreciate it. But those who have tried to advance additional catch share are demonizing me and not telling the truth. And if you watched C-SPAN the other night, Norm Dix did that on the floor. He said untruths about me on the floor. He didn't tell the whole story. He didn't say that my bill didn't affect current or old catch shares. He left that important component out. So I'm going to, you hold me accountable. It's a two-way street. So when people start talking about who I am and what I've said and what I proposed, we're going to hold each other to what is true. I didn't affect, my bill has nothing to do with taking away from you or your sector catch shares that you currently utilize.
What are catch shares? Yeah, what are
I'm trying to get someone up very easily.
That's what I wanted right there.
We took a resource. We took everybody's resource. There's a certain amount of grouper, with a state grouper, that can be caught commercially in the Gulf of Mexico. And just like farmers. And what they did was they said, okay, Jim, how many groupers did you catch? And I said, well, I caught 10,000 pounds a week. That's what all the data and all my records, it was very intense records. Another guy only caught 5,000. So everybody got a percentage of the quota that's allowed to catch, and they were given to each fisherman. Okay. Now, the problem is that if you had aspirations of catching 10 like Jim Burbick does, but you only got 5, you got shortchanged. But we're dealing with a limited resource. There's only so many groupers that can be caught.
But it is a renewable resource.
Yeah. As we grow it. But right now, we're on dead trade. We didn't work for 3 months out of the year. Imagine being a farmer.
But wait a minute, but there's a difference when you say farming. The farmers own the land. The farmers go and buy the seed. The farmers water, irrigate, pull the weeds, hire the staff. Then they buy the fuel. Then they sell it to the open market. This is like a corporate takeover. This is like this administration, they're very consistent. Cap and trade in everything. So, just like when they go to GM, and they take over the stock of GM, and they screw the bondholders, and they take the stock, and they give it to the union. They cap it, then they trade it. They've done the same thing to the fisheries. We're going to come in, and you said just a minute ago, we took the fish. We agree on that statement.
Now,
You-
Steve, to be perfectly, you gotta be honest here, I don't own these fish. I'm the manager of that 10,000 pounds that I have. I can't keep a fish. When I came back from that trip the other night, the FWC, by the way, I paid for the program. They took $310 out of my check that we got for our fish to cover, because we as Americans, people need to be paying their way. You don't benefit, I'm benefiting, it's my income. But guess what? All those fish we caught had to go to the public. So unlike a farmer who can grow corn, take the corn and burn the field down and never sell a bit of it, I have to, by law, every fish I catch has to go to you. Has to go to you. I can't even have one unless it goes to the market and I have to buy it back myself. So no, all I am is a manager of the resource so that every American can enjoy a grouper sandwich or a red snapper if they want to. Because if you, if you, got that water deep. If you, it's like anything. When there's a limited resource, and it is renewable. And as we grow this resource, we might end up in a different management technique. But my argument is that it is proven valuable in the Gulf, and so I don't like to see it taken out of the toolbox.
But Jim, let me say this. There are those, thank you, Jay. There are those. What we're finding is interesting. We've got environmentalists who believe strongly in catch shares. And we're finding for the first time corporations are pairing up with environmentalists because of the promise of profit. So, Walmart is a huge advocate of catch shares, of taking a resource that you own, and for them making you go to Walmart on a Friday night and buy those 2 snapper that you want to catch tomorrow. You're having to buy something you already own. So to privatize the fisheries, to create a stock exchange, commodity exchange like we have in Chicago for corn and soybean and cotton, to create an exchange like that with the fisheries, I will never, ever stand for as long as I'm there. Ever. Now, because you don't have a seat at the table. And it's your fish. And so, and here's the thing. We talk about, you know, the NOAA says, well, the red snapper fishery is overfished. So they say. And they say that it may be until 2032. And maybe in 2032, we will not just give you 40 days to fish, we might give you 60. And here's the thing, when you weigh your fish, they're gutted. But when we say that the recreational sector, when we say that they caught X amount of thousands of pounds of fish, they don't assume that they're gutted. They're full weight. So I want an even playing field. If we're going to weigh our fish, we're going to weigh yours. So so when I catch a 6-pound fish as a recreational fisherman, that same fish you caught weighed 4 because it was gutted. I don't care. You get my point. Okay? And so, wonderful people like yourself, and I mean that you have been, and I want everybody to know, they have been incredibly kind and polite to me. And when you come, we have a spirited debate on this issue, and you're right. You and I agree on 98% of the things that and I appreciate that. What I'm saying, to find a solution going forward, it must be equitable for everyone. So, and if it was an equitable plan for everyone, then you don't want to eliminate programs out of the toolbox. But until people recognize the value of you as individuals, Until that day, I'm going to continue to fight those that want to take our rights away from us. And I'm giving advice, hopefully, that will be passed on. So if they come into my office and they say, okay, let's get all parties at the table, and let's find a plan that is equitable for everyone. And until they agree to that, I'm going to continue to fight, because they're going to continue to lose. And look, I don't trust EDF. I don't trust Oceans Conservancy. I don't trust the Pew Foundation. I just don't. So, just like I don't trust, Max and his buddies. I just don't. All right, I've got one more question, and then we're going to go to east side of the district. We got to make trail. Yes, sir.
Well, along the same line, I mean, part of how to answer the question, but I have heard that there is a proposal that in some way or form or fashion, the United Nations gets involved in our local waters in some form or fashion.
The oceans policy.
Is that true or not true?
That is true.
Does it affect what you're talking about, kid rights or nothing like that?
There is an interesting YouTube video that I would invite all of you to go visit. It is one where we were having a natural resources hearing, and I was put in the position to question the executive director, the director of NOAA, Jane Lachiko. Jane came before us, and we were talking to her about oceans policy. It's a very interesting, some would find it humorous, how Mrs. Lachiko threw one of her junior staff members under the bus because she couldn't answer my question. And so you would find that to be rather enlightening, but it's regarding the oceans policy. And it doesn't just trade our sovereignty as a state over our waters. It gives that sovereignty away. And I'm never going to agree with that. And by the way, Ms. Lachenko is an enormous advocate of catching. And she has a past, and we've jousted a couple times on red snapper when she has testified before us. So, I think that the oceans policy is a policy that has come out of the President's administration. And they spend money that we're trying to find where they're getting the money. To have all these meetings and create all these councils and to create. So the point is we're on that. It is true. It is a real policy. And I would invite you to do a Google search on oceans policy. Go to the administration's website. They have a formal position on it, and they're trying to implement it. And so it's real, and it is something that has great agreement in the UN. Yeah, it is. Listen, y'all, I thank you very much for your kindness to visit with us. Our plans were to go an hour. We've gone to about an hour and a half. But I love coming to Jackson County. Thank you for your kindness and your hospitality. We'll see you quite a bit between now and November. Thank you very, very much. If there was a question that I didn't get to, if you jot it down and give it to us, we'll get back to you. And I want to thank you, even when we disagree on issues, I thank you that we've done so with respect. And God bless you. And as always, may God continue to bless the United States. Thank you.
You may have that one back. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
Very busy right now.
Yeah.
I've communicated with Karen. I've already communicated with her. I'll send you an email that's a follow-up. I don't think it's you don't leave out the two. Okay. Thanks so much.
Yes, sir.